Okay, Ramon Valdez. I'm an attorney with the National Lawyers Guild. I also have my own practice, Brown Buffalo Law. I predominantly practice criminal defense work. I was asked to come and speak here, and I feel like I'm speaking to the choir, and some of the things I actually prepared have been touched upon, but I was told 3 minutes, and I will probably go way under that. Powerful people, entities, corporations, governments do not give up power easily. And so what we see happening to Julian Assange is nothing new. This has been going on for decades, for hundreds of years. These powerful entities, governments, corporations, resort to legal, extra-legal, and illegal means to maintain that power. Let us not forget that 45 years ago, on September 21st, 1976, Orlando Letelier and Ronnie Moffat were killed by a car bomb in Washington, D.C. by supporters of dictator Augusto Pinochet. And very recently, Khashoggi was killed by supporters of the Saudi government. These were people reporting on government abuses in our country, in their countries. But do you think that maybe our government had some tacit approval of these actions? Yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe, right? So exposing government and corporate corruption and malfeasance is dangerous. What we're doing here is dangerous. Let's not forget that. We now know, and Ann already talked about this, that our own government considered kidnapping and assassinating Julian Assange. I mean, just think about that, right? We like to think that this is the land of the home, the brave. I don't think that's very brave. It used to be that mainstream journalists did I'm going to say maybe fairly decent job of reporting these abuses. And you can think of Watergate, the war in Vietnam, Ann talked about that too. But recently the media has been taken over by major corporations. And now we're fed news that's sponsored and promoted by the likes of the Disney Corporation, General Electric. And you think of Judith Miller being fed news by the CIA, and rather than investigating and maybe determining if it was true or not, just fed that to us. And that came over mainstream media. I mean, just think about that, right? So this news that we now have today is not meant to inform us of government and corporate abuses, but rather to maintain power. And his name's already been mentioned today, what Noam Chomsky calls manufacturing consent. That's what this is about. They don't want people to be critically thinking, examining their governments to determine what is proper and improperly being done in our name with our tax dollars, right? They don't want to have our schools teach kids how to think critically. They want to have a compliant consumer class, a compliant working class. So these are the lengths to which governments will go to silence their critics if we don't put them in check. It is time to put our government in check.
That's right.
It is time to expose the corruption that is inherent in all of the dark money that floods our politics. It's even in the Supreme Court now. We used to like to think that the Supreme Court was above politics. That was maybe kind of foolish, right? You look at it now and you just kind of go, oh, wait a minute. There are people's lives in Texas right now that are being affected by the unconstitutional enforcement of a law that probably 90% of the country believes is unconstitutional, but yet the Supreme Court is allowing it to stand in place. I'm reminded of a couple quotes from Eugene Debs, who died just a few days ago, October 20th, 1926, 95 years ago. He kind of took up the mantle of what we're talking about here today. He was persecuted and prosecuted for his beliefs and stands against the U.S. government. This is one of his quotes. I am opposing a social order in which it is possible for one man who does absolutely nothing that is useful to amass a fortune of hundreds of millions of dollars, my own parentheses here, billions, and maybe even going to have our first trillionaire now, while millions of men and women work all the days of their lives secure barely enough for a wretched existence. That's what we're living with right now. And if you think about this, workers maybe right now have a leg up on things because of this pandemic. I've been doing a lot of work on Zoom. I don't want to go back into the courthouses. I don't want to go back to being in person where 50% of the cops and sheriff's deputies aren't vaccinated, being exposed to a deadly virus. Aren't they there to serve and protect? Apparently not. Apparently not. Here's another quote from Eugene. While there is a lower class, I am in it. While there is a criminal element, I am of it. And while there is a soul in prison, I am not free. I'm getting a time signal. Wow. And guess what? I got one more page. It is time to equitably redistribute the wealth that is created by the workers of this country. And why are we still having the same battles that were going on at the turn of the 1900s? Entrenched power does not cede that power easily. And in case you haven't heard, people are fed up with government prying. We're fed up with government spying. We're fed up with government lying.
That's right.
That's right.
That is right. Yeah.
It's time to repeal the Patriot Act. It is time to free Julian Assange. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Free Julian Assange!
Thank you.
Free Julian Assange.